All right, let's travel back in time. We're talking over 2,500 years ago in ancient India. We're by this beautiful spot, the Gagara Lotus Pond. The Buddha is there with his monks, and he gets a visit from this really fascinating guy, an elephant trainer named Pessa. The conversation they're about to have, well, it gives us this incredible framework for understanding people that is just as powerful today as it was back then. So Pessa, a man who spends his entire life trying to understand these huge, powerful animals, drops this incredible line. Just think about that for a second. Humans are a tangled jungle, animals are an open field. It just perfectly nails the confusing, complicated, and sometimes maddening experience of dealing with other people. And that's the puzzle we're going to try to solve in this explainer. And you gotta understand, Pessa isn't just some random guy. He is an expert in behavior. He says he can train an elephant, and he knows every single trick that animal might pull. But then he looks at the people around him, even his own servants, and he realizes they are so much more complicated. They'll do one thing with their body, say something totally different with their words, and their mind is often a third place altogether. Sound familiar? When the Buddha hears this, he completely gets it. He absolutely agrees about this tangled jungle of human life. But he doesn't just nod and say, yeah, it's tough. Instead, he offers a map. He lays out this amazing, timeless guide to help us navigate the jungle by understanding the 4 basic ways that people live their lives. And this is really the heart of it all. The Buddha says, look, if you really pay attention, you'll see that pretty much everyone in the world falls into one of 4 main categories. It's a simple idea, but it's incredibly profound. First up, we have the attantapo, which basically means the self-tormentor. This is someone who believes that the way to get pure, the way to get enlightened, is through causing themselves pain. Think of really extreme practices meant to burn away all their faults through physical hardship. Second, you've got the parentapo, or the other tormentor. This person's life is all about causing harm to others. Their job, their actions, whether they're a butcher, a hunter, a thief, it all revolves around creating suffering for other living things. Now the third type, well, it's a mix of the first two. It's the attantapo karantapo, the both tormentor. This is someone who manages to harm themselves and harm others at the same time. The classic example the Buddha gives is a powerful king or priest who puts on these huge, elaborate sacrifices. It's incredibly stressful for them, and of course, terrible for the animals involved. And then, finally, we get to the fourth path, the nevatan tapo na parantapo, the one who is neither a self-tormentor nor an other tormentor. This is the person who lives in a way that grows peace and wisdom inside themselves, without causing any harm to anyone, including themselves. This is the path of real, genuine well-being. So the Buddha lays out these 4 ways of life. But he doesn't just leave it at that like it's some kind of abstract philosophy lecture. No, he turns right back to Pessa, the practical, wise elephant trainer, and he makes it personal. He asks him that simple, direct question. Which of these 4 people pleases your mind? Now, before I tell you Pessa's answer, just think for a second. Which one sits right with you? The answer might seem obvious, but it's Pessa's reasoning that really hits home. See, Pessa doesn't need to consult some ancient text to figure this out. His answer comes from a place of just deep, empathetic common sense. It's a truth that anyone, anywhere on Earth can immediately understand. His logic is just beautiful. He looks at the first 3 paths and says, nope, not for me. Why? Because all of them cause pain and suffering to beings who, just like him, just like me, just like you, want to be happy and don't want to be in pain. It's this incredible moment of empathy. He sees himself in everyone else. So for him, the only path that makes any sense is the one that doesn't hurt anybody. And so, of course, Pessa chooses the 4th person, the one who lives without causing harm. The Buddha is so impressed by this simple, clear wisdom that he calls Pessa a man of great discernment. And with his question answered, Pessa gets up and goes on his way. But the lesson isn't over yet. After the elephant trainer leaves, the Buddha turns to his monks and says something like, man, I wish he'd stuck around a little longer, because now he's about to dive deep and give a much more detailed breakdown of what these 4 paths actually look like in the real world. And the details he gives are pretty intense. The self-tormentor isn't just someone who's a little hard on themselves. We're talking about people who go naked in the cold, who sleep on beds of thorns, who starve themselves. The other tormentor is anyone whose job is built on cruelty. And the both tormentor? Well, that's the ruler ordering huge sacrifices that cause immense stress and death. It really shows you how real and raw the suffering on these paths can be. Okay, so what about that fourth path, the good one? It's not just about sitting back and not doing bad stuff. The Buddha describes it as an active, step-by-step process. It's a journey you take from a state of confusion to a state of total clarity, from suffering to real freedom. So how does it work? The journey starts simple. You just hear the teaching and you try to understand it. That understanding leads you to live an ethical life. You stop harming with your words and your actions. From there, you learn to be mindful, to guard your senses so your mind doesn't get dragged all over the place. The next step is using meditation to clean out all the junk in your mind, the greed, the anger, the confusion. And what's the final result? Total freedom, true wisdom, a peace that lasts. And the way the Buddha describes someone who completes this journey, it's just beautiful. He says they are nibbutto, which means quenched, like a fire that's finally gone out. They're sitibutto, cooled down, free from the fevers of desire and hate. And they live with a mind that has become brahmabhutta, divine, supreme. It's the absolute peak of what a human being can become. And that brings us right back to right now. This whole framework was laid out by a lotus pond thousands of years ago. But these four types of people, they're everywhere today. We see people who torture themselves to meet some impossible ideal. We see people who harm others for profit or power. We see people who do both. And we also see people trying their best to walk that fourth path, to live without causing harm. So the final question really is for you. When you look out at the tangled jungle of our modern world, which of these four ways of life do you see the most?